And welcome, folks, to another episode of Gregory Hall Live. I'm your host, Gregory Hall. Now, if you've been following me, you know that I have not done a podcast in quite some time. I've been hella busy, so I want to come on air and publicly apologize to any of my viewers or listeners. Your old pal Greg Hall over here has been quite busy, with his comedy, doing stand-up and all those things. But I'm back. I'm back, and I said I'm not going to come back unless I do something interesting. Well, folks, anybody that knows me, I'm a huge fashion nerd. I like fashion and I like looking good. And this gentleman that I have on my show today, his line caught my eye, which is Liquid Unlimited. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present my guest, Joseph Whaley. Give it up, folks.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for coming on my show. I'm a little rusty. It's been a while. It's been a couple months since I've been on air.
That's fine.
It's been a while. So now you are the designer and correct me if I'm wrong. Designer and owner of Liquid Unlimited.
Actually, yeah. The actual company is called the Whiting International Business Development. Whiting has a service called Liquid. Liquid is almost promoted as if it was a company, but it's just a service. And yeah, I'm the lead developer. I actually created the idea about 4 or 5 years ago, because I do a new idea fresh, something similar to this every 3 or 4 years. The first one back in 2010 was a exclusively fashion investment. And then so we can reinvent ourselves, we decided, you know what, why not provide unlimited clothing and fashions at one cost a month? And what could be better than that? That's everybody's dream.
Wow. So that's interesting. So let's jump right into that. So explain to me and my viewers a little bit about that and the services with Liquid Unlimited with that particular service.
Well, actually, Liquid was created to be 5 different services in one, to spread over a course of 2 years. And every quarter or every half a year, you have a new service. This one, we're starting off with unlimited fashion. So how that would work is like a designer, almost like a regular store. So it feels very natural. You log on to, let's say, Walmart.com for whatever. This is an example. And you feel like it's just a normal store. You go into Liquid. Once you start buying things, you actually go to the checkout portion of it. This is where it surprises you, because at the checkout portion, the actual dollar amount will say 0. But the actual shipping is the only thing you'll be actually paying for. That's all included in your membership. So you'll pay a membership almost like if it was a Netflix or a Hulu Plus.
Wow, that is holy shit. Let's hold on. Okay, let's back this up here. I got to put on the shades for that one. Woo, that was. Oh, I put on the shades for that one. Hold on, wait a minute. Okay, so let's say, I want some clothing. I go to your website, your company. I pay a membership like in Netflix, excuse me, if I'm going on Netflix, I pay a membership and I can watch as many movies I want. So I can order clothes, and I have the membership monthly, but I'm only paying for the shipping.
You're only paying for the shipping and the taxes, because that has to stay.
Ooh, give this man a round of applause for that. If that ain't the best, I'm kind of jealous I didn't come up with that. Shit.
Well, technically, it's when you tell people about it, the idea was originally pitched to a lady that I worked with in the past. Her name is Trisha McGarvin. She owns a poetry outing in Strasburg, Pennsylvania. I told her about the idea in January. She looked at me and thought I was crazy. She said, "You can't. That's impossible. How can you honestly do that without losing money?" I said, "That's not really for you to know. I'm just telling you how the idea is." She said, "Well, I support you behind it."
You'll figure that out. That's you.
That's what I do. What I pretty much do, and I tell people all the time. I'm not an event planner. I'm not so much of a fashion designer. I'm more so of a fashion investor. I come up with new ways to give you the American dream. So if you wanted to have a clothing line, I invest into that. You're a normal person, and you want to be able to get the clothing that you never thought you would be able to get. You use Liquid.
Wow. You need to give Kanye West some tips.
It's something interesting. I definitely tell you, it's something very interesting. Like it took a while to establish this, and we're still working out the kinks, but the finished product is amazing. Like, I've seen the site up and running, and I'm even surprised. Like, wow, I actually came up with that. It's flawless. It's running perfect.
I mean, but that's so interesting because I mean, you look at a service like a Netflix, and you think that that could be a Netflix or Hulu Plus or whatever. You think that's only for the entertainment industry in the sense of movies and television. You never think or can fathom that can actually work as a service in a system for fashion or any other type of system, and that's amazing because if this blows up, which I think it is, because I mean, shit, you got me intrigued and hooked. I'm like, what? And I mean, come on, like this could really just revolutionize everything across the board.
Well, definitely. Actually, but here's the thing. Even though it is such a revolutionary and innovative idea, remember this is only 5 services in one. So unlimited fashion is the lowest point. It's the 5th service out of the number 1. So next year you're gonna have the 4th part of the service, which would be being able to use any coupon, gift card, or redeemable code with Liquid. So if you have Walmart or you go to a Target and you don't want to use their gift card, you can come here. We can redeem it for you. So that's just, and then it goes higher and higher and higher until you get to that number 1 service, which would be released a year and a half from now. Like, wow, like I thought unlimited clothing was good. This is even better. So it's a service to pretty much to always transform itself and not always look into what's the next best thing that I can do. And I got the idea because I was like, you know what Netflix is awesome. Like, what if I was able to do this with anything? What would I do it with? And fashion happened to be the idea pitched.
So did somebody come to you for that pitch, or was that something you came up with?
I actually came up with it. It took a while because originally it was only supposed to be a more advanced version of what I did 3 years ago, which would be fashion investment. It was only supposed to be a more advanced version of it. But it kind of grew as the years came by. And my thing is that I don't have any competition. When you're a fashion investor, who really invests just in fashion? So it's a note that I'm a very competitive person. So when I go against somebody, I'm not just trying to beat you. I'm trying to exclude all the competition because when the idea for Liquid actually came up, I was just sitting down. I was just absolutely doing nothing. I was just, that's what I could say. I was doing nothing, looking outside of my condo, and then I was like, you know what? It just clicked. And that was it.
And crush the competition. There you go. There's 40 laws of power right there, man. Shit.
Because technically, years ago, we ran a clothing line. We had an actual clothing line. The economy went down in 2009. And then from there, we just emptied out the clothing line, said we're not going to do it no more, and then did fashion investment in 2010. And then when 2010 came and went, and it's still popular now, it's just we want to do something different. So we figured, what can we do now to eliminate any competition we might have had? Because when you're a clothing designer, you have other clothing designers as competition. But Liquid, what can you really put that in the category as? It has no category because it's such a huge format. What is your competition? Your competition will be Netflix and Hulu Plus, but they're not in the same field as you. So you're kind of eliminating everybody and everything, which is one thing. So just to make things even better, we're only going to do 3,500 memberships of Liquid. That's it. So it's an exclusive thing.
Woo. Do you think that this could work with any service? Like any service? Like this particular format of business?
Can it work with any service? If done right and thought about it very, very detailed, it possibly can. But that's years in development there. I mean, like, we only really tried this with clothing. I don't know about anything else, to be honest with you.
So now, okay, so let me ask you this. So you're an investment in fashion, so you're in the world of fashion.
Yep.
Now, fashion is it's a very inclusive field. Like, how did you break into that?
I broke into it because of the fact that I wanted to. When I started fashion, I was maybe like, give or take, 16 years old, and I was, I want to do a couple of shirts so I could make extra money on the side. I only made about $42 a week at that time, and I was introduced to a guy named DJ Sino, Christopher. I can't forget. He has an Italian last name, very complicated, in New York, and he was trying to do like some kind of shirt line. So I took interest. What if I did? I never did it before. I always stuck to the soft stuff like other fields, but this was a new thing. I said, yeah, no problem. Let's do it. I'm not sure how to work, but let's do it. So during my high school years, I stayed in my room for like, I would guess 9, 10 hours a day, just studying fashion and studying like what it really means and how it actually works, because I didn't know anything about it. All I knew was I like to wear clothes. That's about it. You know, other than that, it wasn't nothing that I can picture myself doing. But then as the years went by, it's like, wow, this is something that I can possibly learn and grow and actually do something with and change the whole field in general.
So you're kind of like the P. Diddy of fashion.
If that's how you want to put it, yeah, you know, I'm not going to turn that down.
Shit, man, listen, if you keep doing what you're going to put P. Diddy out of business. Holy shit.
It's very, because my background isn't what most people would think. You know, I actually grew up in Jersey City.
Get out of here.
I grew up, yes, Jersey City. Right up of,
You're talking to a fellow Jersey City native right here.
Oh, well, that's even better. That's perfect. You understand me then.
What part?
Wow. Right off of Rutgers Avenue in, oh, wow, what's the town? Like, it's PS 20. It's like, it's been so long since I've been down there. Wow. Right off the bridge. Not too far from the bridge.
Okay, all right. I know where you're. Oh, is that okay? I know exactly where. Actually, near Commuter Port.
Yes, not too far from there. You know, I grew up there. My family's there. Yeah, but as we got older, you know, my father passed. He got killed years ago. So, you know, I was always the kind of person that been like, I want to do something that not only will I change the field I'm in, but also change my family as well. You know, every project I do it for my little sister, and I always encourage her, don't just be the normal, be something better than normal, be something better than better. Always compete against yourself, because your biggest competition is yourself. Wow. And she grew on, and she's a published author to do her own thing, and she's 8 years old. I'm proud of her. She, you know, I always tell her, I say, do what you need to do. I will always be there to support you. You need whatever you need, I'm there. Just learn from me and learn from the mistakes that I've done, whether it's business related or personal related, and just grow from that. And, you know, we might not have always had the best upbringing, but I try not to make my past my future, so I always try to do something different. So years down the line, we say, wow, like, he thought of this and he came from here. Like, wow, it's a different story then.
Wow, that's, you know what, just listening to your story and talking about your little sister, I hear stories like that, and I'm like, man, I am doing nothing to contribute to society. Like, no jokes. I just go on stage and tell jokes.
Well, you know,
it's the honest truth, though. Your biggest competition is you. Your biggest enemy is you. And one of the things that I, you know, appreciate what you just said was how you said you sat for 10 hours and you watched and you learned, you know, you honed your craft, and that's the biggest thing that I try to stress to people. You know, even if I get writer's block, I try to make it a point to at least try to either write or work on a new bit every day, you know, because especially where we live in this age of instant gratification, you know, we want the instant gratification, we want the glory and the fame and all these things, but don't want to put in the work. And, you know, and sometimes you have to put in that work. You know, you have to really grind it and grind it and grind it and stay off the social media, because the social media is the devil. You know, you got people in there making you seem like shit is sweet, and you straight stunting on Facebook and Instagram and so on and so forth, or so miserable. And you're thinking like, oh, I'm not doing nothing. I'm sitting in the house while they're out having a good time. But no, you're working on your future, and, you know, and working on your craft and bettering yourself.
Well, actually, that's interesting too, because when my first job was at Camelback Mountain. That's all the way up in Pennsylvania. That was my first ever job, and like when I was in high school, I was always like, hey, let's go out to the movie, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this and do that. And I was like, no, let me just, I have to work. So I would sit in my room with a pencil and pad all the time, almost like if I was writing music, and just consistently write down ideas, even though I knew personally the ideas won't play a part until years later down the line, because the pieces of liquid actually were developed not this year or last year. It was developed years ago. I just put everything together and then came up with this. There's a whole book.
When you look at things in hindsight, yeah, it's like, oh, I've been working on this for years and not even knowing I've been working on it.
Yeah, exactly. So, even once Liquid is said and done, the fifth service is completed, then you jump on to the next project, and the next project has already been written. It's just for you to do it. It's like, you're writing your own story, but you wrote it years ago for you to complete it years down the line.
Yeah, like you don't realize. I mean, I never listen. If I can go back in time and tell my 10-year-old self, like, you're going to grow up to want to be a stand-up comic, I'd be like, no, no, not me, really. But looking back in hindsight, I was always good at public speaking. I never was nervous talking in front of people. I had a very interesting way of kind of processing the world and always finding humor and truth and in pain. And I'm like, wow, I never know all these years I've been kind of, I don't want to say training myself, but, try really just honing my craft without even knowing.
Yeah, at the same time, you do have to me, as I grew up down the line, I noticed that I did have to train myself too, because there's been plenty of times when I've been saying to myself, like, you know what? I don't want to do this. Let me just quit this right now and enjoy my teens and 20s. Like, let me just do that. But then I think about it, like, what else did I really do? I didn't do anything. This is what I did, and this is what I'm growing accustomed to. So to me, this is natural. And that's just
Right.
my lifestyle. This is what I do.
Well, I think that we're all born with certain attributes and traits that are embedded into our DNA even before we are born, but you still got to work on them skills. You got to sharpen those skills.
Yeah, of course. That's the most toughest part, is actually being concentrated on sharpening those skills, because not many people can sit down and concentrate on something long enough to actually complete it. Because I know a lot of people, personal friends of mine, family members, and other people I knew from years ago, that they start a project and never finish it because either they're too afraid to fail, or everybody else around them is having fun and they want to have fun too. But you can you can work now, but have fun later. Because I was always
Yeah.
told, a friend of mine's, my best friend's mother told me years ago, she said that you only get 17 years as a child to do whatever you want, but you get 40, 50, 60 years as an adult to work. So when do you actually want to play? You want to play for 17 years, or do you want to play for 60 years? And I thought about that. It makes a lot of sense. So you work for that 17, 18 years so you could build yourself a better future, so you don't have to work as hard when you're like in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, and so on. So you have more time to quote unquote play than you do working.
Oh my God, I hope somebody's watching this and gets inspired because it's so true. I mean, and that's anything you do. I mean, it's funny, and I want to just briefly talk about this real quick before we go off air. And I know this is like the old top, but whatever. But the whole Kanye West rant and situation, and it was so funny. If you don't know what we're talking about, then you live on the rock, whatever. We're going to start from point of reference, but we know his rants that he did on on the radio, and honestly, I just felt like he was in a position to where he felt that he was entitled. And it goes back to that sense of entitlement. It's like, okay, yeah, we know you're Kanye West, we know you're a musician, and what you're saying has a lot of truth to it, but you still cannot have a sense of entitlement because you are a musician. You're going into a different world. So you have to still prove yourself, and I think that's where he needs to realize you have to still prove yourself.
Yeah, because I agree with that. As far as with Kanye West, I love his music. I have his CD. I even have the latest CD, he uses. That's a great album, one of the best creative work. Not many people understand it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm part of the minority of people that actually got that album. Like, I was like, this is a good album. Nobody gets it.
I think I was speaking to a friend the other day, and like he said, it was garbage. It was garbage. But what you don't understand is you actually got to listen to it. Don't listen to all the noise in the background. Listen to the actual lyrics. And he's telling you something. He's explaining a chapter in his life, the new chapter in his life. And not many people understand it because they just listen to the noise, the screaming, the yelling in the background, and they turn it off and throw it away. But it's actually a very creative piece of work. It may be different from My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, but to me, it's almost the same album. It's just a different chapter in his life.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing with Jay-Z and the Magna Carta album. People are like, oh, the album's whack and blah, blah, blah. He's talking about fine arts and Picasso's. And I'm like, well, the man is 44 years old. He's married to one of the most beautiful women in the world. He has a beautiful daughter. Was he supposed to rap about drugs?
I know. Exactly.
You look foolish. You would call him foolish and stupid. I mean, he kind of did it with the American Gangster album, but he did it as a concept album. He had it disguised as a concept album. But if he just straight up talked about selling coke and all this stuff, it's like, you look foolish. He has to talk about what's going on in his life.
Exactly.
Like, get it together. But listen, we're having a little technical difficulty with my computer. So if so happens, if we get shut off, we're going to do a part 2 for the last 15 minutes, and we'll just do like, I'll shoot your partner the link, and then you can come right back in, and then we'll finish from part 2.
Okay.
But it's giving me a message saying that it's going to restart for some particular reason without my consent, which is like, really? Really? Or what we can do is we can actually do a part 2 on another date if that's if you like to do that. We're having a really interesting conversation.
Whichever's better for you. I have no problem. I make my schedule free.
Okay. Well, I'm actually free tomorrow night if you would like to continue part 2.
Okay. Give me a time and I'll be there anytime after 5 if it's tomorrow night.
Awesome. So folks, so we're gonna continue this show. We're gonna do a part 2 tomorrow. Be here live. I'm gonna put the link up today for part 1, and tomorrow we'll shoot for around 7 p.m. live here. We'll have part 2 with my partner right here, Joseph Whaley, and we're going to continue. This is an interesting conversation, and the service is great. But until then, go to liquidunlimited.com and check that out. People can get the membership now, correct?
The membership, Liquid is not being released until July 4th. We chose to do it on Independence Day. And the interesting thing about Liquid is LQ. It's no I in it. It's only LQUID. So we dropped the I just to make it more, I guess, hip, so to speak. So yeah, we're doing pre-orders for the membership.
Was that a trademark thing?
We're doing pre-order for the membership actually, and to be the middle of June. Since it's exclusive, we want to make sure we have a little bit of RSVP for it.
Awesome. So go and check that out. And July 4th, they will be open. Get your membership and be here tomorrow. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. We'll continue with part 2 with my man Joseph Whaley. And thank you for riding with us. Joseph, you can hang on real quick. And we'll see you tomorrow. This is Gregory Hall Live signing off. Peace.
All right, thank you.